Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means, the other one's just along for the ride. Tyler, say what's up, big dog.
What's up? What's up? If you guys saw that little intro video, what was something that jumped out, or
Just
there
a
was a
little
nice little surprise in there. I like it.
little Easter egg every single time. Yeah, that was Mike on that. Just dude man's doing his thing. And we are wrapping up our week. Like, what a week. We've been working 2-3 weeks on this. It seems like our first annual prospect week, so to speak. Banter sessions every single day. Articles. Our top 40 has been released. By now, you probably know who our top 10 is. I haven't quite figured out when we're releasing this. Do we release this Friday morning at the same time we release the article?
I guess in
Might be
that
the move.
same, yeah, avoid the spoilers.
Yeah.
Very spoiler sensitive.
So let's just do that. Let's just release this. Let's do it Friday morning, 8:00. So if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, go to BlakeStreetBanter.com, find a blog, subscribe at the top of one, and you'll get the top 10 in your inbox Friday morning. Just a little something to read along with your coffee, just like old school newspaper type stuff. And then you can listen to us while you read the article, and it's like 2 for 1. It's the
And you're
perfect
really
combo.
taking it all and combining the visual with the audio.
It's beautiful.
You'll never forget what we thought.
And that's all that matters, because Prospect Week, this is pretty exciting. I've been pretty pumped about this. I'm excited for tomorrow. We're gonna hop on the YouTube and do a banter cast, so to speak. So if you're hanging out tomorrow, 7:00 Eastern, 5:00 Mountain, go to the YouTube, come hang out with us. We're just gonna talk while the game's on. Haven't quite figured out the details just yet while we are recording this, but it's going to be a good time. Probably what we're doing right now, but watching baseball and watching our guys do their thing.
And just exclusively prospects. We've watched, some of these spring training games, and it's so cool. We're gleaming anytime there's like Zach Veen getting an at bat, Jordan Beck, Carson Palmquist when he started that opening day game. Now it's going to be just those guys, and they're not being like held on a short leash. It is like this is their little team for a day. My only thing is that it should be like a mini series. They have what do they have, like 13 pitchers on the roster? Let's play 3 games with those guys and treat it like a real, like, obviously you don't have to have the same teams play each other, but let's do 3 games in a weekend, Friday through Sunday, or do a doubleheader at some point so that all those pitchers can actually get in the game. So a lot of guys on that roster that, like, who knows what's going to happen.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing, or like a World Baseball Classic round robin type thing, or like a first round World Cup, like everybody just kind of playing each other and you're doing a round robin pool play just for fun to see what happens. But it's exciting. Like, I love that the MLB is doing this. This is one thing that they did not fumble, and I like it. I think I heard it on a podcast and I was thinking about it before, but like, this is better than the futures game because it's simply more. Like, we get all the prospects, all of our guys playing against other top 30s of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's just more. It's fun. So come hang out with us. Come hang out with us Saturday. And if you missed us, it's going to be recorded, so you can just watch the game again with us and go watch on YouTube. So I think that's it. That's good. Hopefully you got some giveaways. We did some giveaways. We got some stuff being sent out. Thank you to our guys for being able to do that. So this is just kind of a wrap up, but the beginning of the season. Like, it's perfect. I love it. I'm excited. And I think I need to stop talking about it and let's just get into it. So here is our top 10. This is our BSB. So how this works, me, Tyler, Mike, and Noah all ranked our top 1 through 40 plus prospects, averaged them all out, and then this is how the averages kind of boil down to. As you've probably heard before, if you're not new here, I put a little bit more emphasis on guys that are a little bit higher, that are going to make a major league impact a little bit sooner. Like, I had Nolan Jones, I think, as my number 7, number 6 last year, if that kind of helps you kind of realize where I'm at. Where Tyler does it in a little bit different way, and Noah and Mike have their own little way of doing things. So this is a fun way that we kind of summarized all of the Rockies top 40, so to speak. And we did a little bit more than the MLB.com, which their job sounds so much fun listening to them talk about it, but like, it sounds daunting at the same time. But Tyler, how do you kind of do your rankings? How did you kind of figure out who goes where?
I mean, I think as like a prospect person, you're always trying to find like that perfect way to do things. You're always changing kind of your methods. I, though, kind of contrary to your methodology, looking a lot at upside. I think upside is the number one checkbox for me. If a guy has the most upside in a position group, chances are he's going to be at or like right near the top of that list. Then, of course, yeah, proximity to the big leagues is really important. You want to look at kind of the whole of some of their traits. Like you don't want to just look at how like you might see exit velocities from a player, but you want to see other things like how often they're actually putting the ball in the air and if it's turning into home runs. There's just so much to look into. So but I try to balance that floor and ceiling as best I can. But more emphasis on the ceiling from me.
And that's the beauty of this. That's what makes baseball so much fun. That's why I enjoy it. Like we can all look at things a little bit differently and kind of get to the same thing, but have an argument, have a disagreement, but also agree that this is just a good freaking time. So enough of that. If you read the article, you already know who's number 10. Number 10 is Gabe Hughes. We have him as number 10. MLB.com has him at number 17. He brings in a 60 grade fastball, 50 grade curve, 55 slider, changeups at 45, and his control is pretty good at 50. His overall is ranking at a 45. You got to imagine his ceiling's probably a number 2, number 3 starter in MLB rotation, and his floor is a middle reliever, so to speak, who's able to come in for 2 innings and just kind of shut the door. Big build, 6'4", 220, early, young, 22 years old with a whole experience at college. Made his way from high A Spokane to double A Hartford last year before taking the Tommy John. And you got to expect him. He's going to start probably in Hartford this year when he comes back. Don't know what that timeline is, but I saw Jordy Vargas throwing. So Tommy John, they're all ramping up their throwing system right now. So got to imagine Gabe and the rest of the crew that had TJ last year will be probably around July, August coming in. So Gabe Hughes, I think he was kind of slept on when we drafted him a few years ago. I know we had that conversation. It's like, why Gabe Hughes? Tyler, explain to me why Gabe. And you sold me on him, and I've been all in. And then what he did before going to TJ last year was super impressive. I think he's a low key sleeper, even though he's our number 10 number. He's still a top 30, even Tommy John, but I think he still has a huge amount of upside.
Absolutely. And I'm always going to have this kind of funny personal bias. I did advanced scouting analytics for UNM baseball. Very first player I ever scouted was Gabe Hughes, and at the time I didn't realize he was going to be quite a first round talent. The coaching staff had been like, you got to look at this Hughes kid. And so knew he was good. Did not know he was going to be 9 over. And again, yeah, like you mentioned, we were kind of like, why Hughes? But there's so much just pure physical ability there that you don't find with a lot of pitchers. You mentioned that big build. There's absolutely velocity there, sitting in kind of the mid 90s range. So really fun pitcher. I think you nailed the floor ceiling. He could be that kind of multi-inning relief guy, but could end up near the top of an MLB rotation too, just given the power of his stuff.
Like I love seeing the 97 mile per hour fastball that can tick up there, sitting around the mid 90s. You have that change up with about 10 mile per hour difference if it's all hitting, and just the big imposing up tempo kind of way he throws is fun to watch. So the few games I was able to watch Gabe Hughes pitch when he was a GOAT, especially that first game where he went 5 innings, gave up a few runs, but he had 5 strikeouts in that first outing. It was like, all right, he's good. He's here. He's supposed to be here. And I also have a little bias. I saw Dude Man walk in from in a car in the middle of Akron when he got his call up, and like after he missed his plane or whatever that story is. We'd love to hear what that is from firsthand. But dude dominated Spokane. He had one game here, 6 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, 1 hit. That was against the Hillsborough Hops. We'll forget about his April 25th start, and the one shortly after. But when he was on, he was fantastic. And like those numbers in Spokane, like it was really just like this bad, like 5 or 6 stint of batters. It wasn't anything he was doing or anything he was missing. It was just like a little bloop single here, might have missed a pitch there. And he has the stuff. So I'm excited for Gabe Hughes at number 10. Who is at our number 9?
So at 9, we've got one of I would consider my guys, Sean Sullivan. He ended up ranked 9th in our system. MLB.com has him ranked 14th. They give him a plus grade on the fastball at 60, slider at 45, changeup at 50, control 55, and that overall grade at 45. The floor there is kind of like, you mentioned it with Hughes, the multi-inning reliever. I want to throw around like Andrew Miller. We saw Andrew Miller in the big leagues as this really lights out, shut down closer type pitcher. He was able to go 2 innings pretty easily. But I also think Sullivan has a sneaky mid rotation upside. There's just kind of people need to come around on him. The real tidbit I want to throw in there, of all players drafted in 2023, Sullivan's average extension to the plate was the single highest mark in college baseball at 7.16 feet. He's getting 7 feet down the mound every time. Most guys are like, in the high fives, low sixes. Like, he's getting an extra foot down the mound. We've talked to some of our dudes. They're like, that can have a huge impact on the way the ball feels coming in, keeping that velocity. Like, the perceived velocity to a hitter is going to be faster when there's that extra extension. He's nasty. Like, his fastball is low 90s, but he's got that kind of sidearm slot. Again, he's getting really extended. It's going to kind of ruin some guys' days. And then that slider is disgusting as well. And I don't know why MLB.com's given that a 45. That is a damn good pitch from Sean Sullivan. I'm stoked to see him just continue to dice up guys. This year, he struck out 10 of the 13 batters he faced in his pro debut. So let's get some Sean Sullivan hype going. It's already overdue, and it's been less than a year.
I'm excited to see a full pro season of Sean Sullivan. Like, again, all these lefties that are coming through, Joe Rogg, Carson Palmquist, like it's stacked, and Sean Sullivan brings it. I'm excited. I'm wondering how the Rockies kind of deal with his fastball. Like, he threw a lot of fastballs in college, and that was his money pitch. And like, why not? If you're getting 7 feet extension, your 90 looks 95. Like, why not? It's going to be interesting how the Rockies work with that, and that slider piece being consistent. Like, I was reading some things that his release point was a little bit different on the slider through college. So making that consistent, being able to tunnel along with the other pitches, but just the overall stuff, and like, again, 10 strikeouts at 12 outs. Like, that's absolutely insane. Got to imagine he starts in Fresno and makes his way quickly through that in Spokane, but I would not be surprised if Dude started in Spokane high A. Like, that would not be surprising whatsoever after his little taste of the pros last year.
That's sort of what I'm thinking. You mentioned that floor of, like, I think the floor is that's like a likely low end outcome. Of course, there's a lower, like, the floor can always somehow get lower, but I think that there's presentability there that says, hey, this guy should probably start in high A. And form a rotation duo there with fellow 23 draft pick Chase Dollander that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Dude, could you imagine if Chase Dollander just skips it and just starts at Double A? Like, what if the Rockies just like whatever, doing it? And we haven't seen him yet this spring. I hope we see him tomorrow. I hope we see him Saturday pitching. He's on the roster. He's on the list to be on the team, but I wonder where Dollar's going to be. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays out. We have yet to see Chase Dollander in purple this spring. Our number, what are we, 8 or 8 already, is Drew Romo. We are a little bit higher on Drew Romo than MLB.com. MLB.com has him at 9. Switch hitting catcher, you already know. He's kind of, everybody knows who he is by now. Hit 45, power 45, run 45. His arm is 60, fielding is 60. His overall is 45. The biggest thing about Drew Romo is he took his bumps and bruises last year, and he came out on top. He's healthy. He's good. And dude, man, like, showed up day -2 of spring training and has worked with every single pitcher in the bullpen in a game, and just the learning aspect of it. Like, the 22-year-old wants to be great, which however he's doing it, do you? It sounds exhausting to me being able to be that big of a learner of the game, but it's fun, fascinating, absolutely fascinating what he's going to be able to do behind the plate. There's not a lot of good Rockies history with catching, and I think Drew Romo is that turn. And you got Fulford behind him. Shoot, if Cole Carriage comes behind him too, like, that would be sick. But the Texas native Drew Romo, I think, is next. 2 games last year with 3 home runs. So obviously that scouting report piece is coming. That was when he was finding his groove with his bat, and he's done well this spring with the big league squad. He's gonna be playing Saturday. It's just the switch hitting thing. We'll see how that plays out, but there is absolutely nothing about Drew Romo that worries me that he's not going to be an everyday major league catcher by the end of 2024.
Yeah, and we try not to put too much stock into spring training, and this is the year I've seen the most takes where it's like, if you see a guy doing good in spring training, that's probably a bad thing, because like that means they're showing their cards, they're beating up on guys when like pitchers or hitters are not fully into swing. I think that's BS. Of course, there's you take it with a grain of salt, but Drew Romo's looked like a certified big leaguer in spring training. Like the arm is zippy when he's made a couple like back picks. That thing's slinging. And then also he's hit a couple batted balls, like in the mid 100s and with the exit velocity. That's the kind of, like, some people I think probably have graded his power as if those line drives he's hitting is like his max output. I mean, he's hit some line drives at like 106 miles an hour. Home runs are, there's a lot more potential for that extra, mile per hour too. So average power is like on the table. The average hit tool is on the table. Do both happen? Maybe unlikely, but dude looks very, very mature behind the plate. I think that there's kind of a new mentality where he's like, I'm like taking this. I'm going to take it. I'm going to earn it. Whatever. I'm going to be that guy for the Rockies starting in 2025, and hopefully even a little bit earlier than that, later this season.
And everything about him screams that he has the demeanor. Oh, excuse me. Demeanor to be that guy. Like, he's already making those connections with the pitchers and all of that. One thing I am going to be watching in this year is how he does from the left-hand side. You can see most of his damage last year was from the right-hand side of the plate with 12 home runs, 12 of his 13 home runs coming that way. He had a 195 batting average from the left-hand side. And we've been seeing this with some of the Rockies switch hitters. Like, how are we doing this? And like, if you're a switch hitter, that's great. Absolutely do it. Like, you are definitely better than most. Like, and you're probably hitting left-handed better than you would right-handed against right-handed pitchers. So just gonna be something to see how he's working on that. If he's taking the Tolia route, working on the different swings and understanding that body. Haven't heard him talk about it, so just something that I'm going to be watching personally. When he's in Albuquerque. Dude, man starts in Albuquerque with probably McIver. So just something to watch for as we go forward. How much damage can he create from that left-hand side? But I mean, August call up probably. Maybe a little bit earlier. I don't see them waiting too long with Drew Romo.
Well, the exciting thing we know with him, we know with the other guy coming up here in a little bit, those 2020 high school draftees are Rule 5 eligible this offseason. So it's a certainty that someone like Drew Romo is getting added to the 40-man in the winter. Usually what happens, though, is the teams speed that timeline up a little bit, say, like, okay, we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and add him right now. So good chance that, August, September, there is a debut there.
Love that. Who is our number 7 BSB top 7 player?
We got Benny Montgomery coming in at that lucky 7 spot. MLB.com has him ranked 10th, so we're a little bit above the curve there. His grades coming out from MLB, the hit at 45, power 55, run 70. Arm 60, and the fielding grade also a 60. The floor is still not quite that big league talent. We need to see him really even perform kind of in the lower minors. At high last season, he spent the whole year there, just a 706 OPS. The slugging percentage was really low. We saw some encouraging trends, like with the walk rate. I'm not as concerned anymore about the hit tool. It comes down to that power playing in games. Also needs to keep himself on the field, stay healthy. The ceiling might be as high as anyone in this system. The raw athletic tools are just out of this world. He is one of the fastest runners in the organization. He, is getting a lot of experience in center field. In high school, he was crushing baseballs. It's just, he's got to figure that the swing is a little unorthodox. It doesn't lend itself to elevating the baseball. So I think when he was drafted, everyone's like, oh, we got this guy who doesn't really know how to hit. He has a bad swing. he has great bat to ball skills, and in fact, the power just can't show up because of the way that he's relying so much on his bat to ball skills. They are good. And our fun little tidbit to throw in here, Baseball America dropped that article in the fall that Benny Montgomery had the best reduction, like the highest reduction in chase percentage in minor league baseball in 2023. He figured out that approach, and as I mentioned, that walk rate increased. So Benny Montgomery has elevated his profile as a hitter. We just need to see the whole picture come into play. Swing probably going to require work until he's knocking on the doorstep. So, but upside is like as good as any prospect in baseball. That 5-tool center fielder is what everyone dreams of.
Yeah, and again, everything about who he is and his body type. Like he was taking practice, outfield practice with Nolan Jones during the spring training and figuring out routes to balls, which is just insane to think about. Plenty of arm, plenty of bat to ball skills. Like you said, that walk rate, like 2.5% jump from low A to high A, which seems impressive. Like that's not easy to do. So with that reduction, that chase reduction, like that had to have been a focus of his going into 2023. So now what is his focus going into 2024? I got to imagine he's starting at center fielder in Hartford in 2024. There's no way he repeats high A Spokane. Just the freak injuries too. Like dude man was hurt, recovering, then got hurt, and then recovered, and then hurt. And it was like little things, just getting beat up, hands, kind of like a KB thing, getting hit on the hand a few times, some leg stuff. Just couldn't stay completely healthy. And you also wonder, like, is that just being a young guy trying to figure out pro ball? Like, what is he, 20 years old, still 20 years old, trying to figure it out? Because I mean, like what he did at the Arizona Fall League, absolutely insane. Slugged 500, 936 OPS, had his 3 home runs and 94 at bats, still 10 stolen bases, only caught twice. Like he still was performing with other dudes that he should be performing with. And that only speaks great. Like Arizona Fall League is no slouch, and you have all the best pitchers coming in doing their thing. And if you're going to perform 2.5 years younger than the league average, that's a good sign. I don't know if we talked enough about Benny Montgomery last year. Again, just like the borderline numbers, not too impressive, but all the things that go along with it and all of the progress he made from 22 to 23 should be talked about and should be noticed by absolutely everybody.
Yeah, and I think we don't want to get into a rabbit hole, but I think he highlights a trend that does exist with some Rockies prospects, that they're looked at for like their production, the tools are considered, but context, and this goes for, I guess, really for all prospects. Context is important. This is a guy who was supposed to be a project. He has been a project, but he has taken the steps that are necessary to continue being a very good prospect. So a lot of credit due to Benny Montgomery. It was still a good year, even if some of those numbers were not in an ideal place.
Absolutely. Number 6 on the BSB top 5 Rockies prospects is Sterling Thompson. I love this man. Not as much as Keith Law, but I love this man. Scouting grades: hit 55, power 45, run 45, arm 50, fielding 45, overall 50. He is the best hitter without a home right now. I think you and I have been saying constantly that he is the best bat in the system, just best professional bat. It just reminds me of like a Michael Brantley type, that no matter what you do, wherever you put him, he's going to give you that great at bat. But where does he play? Dude man split time at third base. Like 30, 35 games at third base last year. And then second base has been his favorite spot this spring. Yeah, here it is. So Hartford, 13 games at second base in Hartford, 55 at third base in Spokane. So like he like literally flipped positions when he went up levels, which is crazy. But second base and third base, you see those switches a lot. Like Aaron Schunk, for instance, he can switch back and forth there. It's just, where do you put him? Where do you find a spot for this bat? It's not going to be a lot of power. That's just not what he does, but he's going to give you a ton of doubles. Like that power 45 is just a little bit above average. His hit tool is insane. Everything about him does scream professional hitter, and his Arizona Fall League numbers are going to back that up too. Average 338 in the Arizona Fall League with a 935 OPS. zero home runs though. Is what I'm saying. So very, very high on what he does and what he can do. Very excited what he's going to do. Probably in Hartford. I'm going to say Hartford. My hot take for the year is that Sterling Thompson is a Colorado Rocky by the end of 2024, based on some moves that might be made. Not that we're privy to it, but I just think there's something about that bat that just screams Colorado Rocky 2024.
Yeah, and he has that swing that's built for course field. Put a lot of balls in play, a lot of line drives in the gaps. And I do want to throw out there that his raw power is pretty significant. He coming out of the draft had some of the best raw exit velocities in the draft class. He's just someone who is lining the baseball a lot. And if he does ever kind of make slight adjustments to elevate more, like he could easily be hitting 20, 25 homers in a season. We saw him hit 14 this past year in 94 games. So flashed a little bit more of that ability to play it in games. So the upside, that gives him some upside. And as you've mentioned, the floor is already there that he might be in Rockies purple by the end of the season.
Yeah, it's just where is he going to play? Because Dude Man can play a corner outfield spot if you want him to. He doesn't have a lot of experience out there. Very kind of Hunter Goodman-esque in that sense. But he's going to force the hand of the Colorado Rockies brass to find a spot for him to play at the major league level. Whether that means moving somebody, trading somebody, there's something about it. Like, I absolutely love Colt Keith in the Tiger system. He got that contract extension. Very similar situations between Colt and Sterling. So there's just something that about him that screams major leaguer for me. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's going to be something to watch for. Like, how quickly does he just make his way through AA? Because when he jumped up last year, like high A to AA, his strikeout rate went up, which is expected. Like, that jump from high A to AA is always the hardest, but his walk percentage still went up 1.5% to 10.4%, which you don't see very often. Like, it's usually high strikeouts, low walk rate, because everything just gets a little bit harder, a little bit better. But Dude Man was still able to walk and still kind of produce while he was up there. So it's advanced, and that can't be taken for granted by anybody. I don't think it should be taken for granted by the Rockies brass.
I think the real kicker with him, you don't need a spot for him to play. I think he can and should play 2 or 3 spots on a regular basis when he is up here. So that's nice flexibility that is not provided by a lot of other guys in the system.
Right, but the Rockies almost have too many of those guys. like we don't quite have a home for you. You can do it, but we don't know what to do. Hunter Goodman, for example, like, he can play outfield, first base, so he's not like forcing the hand of anything. But that's a time for a different podcast. Who is our number 5?
So we've got big Yankiel Fernandez at our number 5 spot. He's MLB's number 3. The ratings, the grades for him. I was struggling for that word. Hit of 55, power 60, run 40, arm 60, field 50, overall 55. So that's kind of profiling him to be an above average everyday player. What do we kind of think about, where he is now, where he might be going? The floor, kind of like Benny Montgomery, still not quite a guaranteed big league player. He struggled when he got to AA. We'll get into that a little bit more. But the ceiling is crazy. The ceiling is that a 40 home run hitter. He has effortless power. We saw his one spring training home run was against a pitch that was like at his, near his ankles. Like, he just kind of went down and got that thing. Drew Goodman, I'm pretty sure, was like that off the end of the bat, and then it went over the fence. And I don't think it was off the end of the bat, but kind of showed like the way that his swing works. He can get to a lot of pitches, and he can get good wood on all of those pitches. We did see him struggle in AA when he got up. The walks kind of stopped. He's never been a big guy, walking, but the walks truly disappeared. The strikeouts spiked. Didn't see as much just overall hitting production. The average dropped to 206. That was his Fresno average was 231 in 3 games, but Hartford 206 average. It showed that I think he needs to work on being a little bit more prepared and intentional in those at bats. going in there with a plan instead of just kind of relying on the natural ability that you have. So good learning experience, I would say for him. Still managed to hit 8 home runs in Double A though. So we've seen the power will play, but when you get to the big leagues, you do need to be able to have that rounded profile. So really looking to see Yankiel take that next step as a hitter. We saw Benny Montgomery do it. He improved in a lot of key areas. I would love to see Yankiel Fernandez find a way to bring those strikeouts down again. He used to be a guy who struck out well below average, like less than the average rate. Walks, I'd like to see a slight uptick, but let him play his game, and that's to just mash and swing at a lot of pitches. So let's see that improvement, and if that's the case, Yankiel Fernandez is going to be, potentially that franchise DH corner outfield type of player who just has to be in there. It's going to give you a home run every three games, every 3-4 games kind of thing.
It's impressive because he's 21 years old. He is going into his 21-year season. He's already played at Fresno as a 19-year-old, played 20 as a 20-year-old at 3 different levels last year. We don't really need to count Fresno. That doesn't really count. 2 different levels last year. Just insane talent. And he kind of came out of nowhere. I remember we were pretty stoked about him in Fresno. Him and Juan Guerrero were kind of those dudes that we were watching for. And so him just kind of really taking that step forward last year with those home runs in Spokane was absolutely insane. But like you said, it's the K rate. It's got to be a different approach. Got to lock that in. It doubled when he went from Spokane to Hartford, 18% to 33%, almost doubled. Sorry, mathematicians. But he was still productive in those. Like he still had 25 RBIs in that time. Through an entire season at Hartford, that's still 80 RBIs almost, which it would have led the team last year. So even though the strikeouts rate is high, he still has that ability to produce when he's still not doing all the little things right. So working on, got to imagine selectivity is on his homework this offseason. So dude, man, where do you think he starts? Because the outfield is stacked, and we're going to see that tomorrow for this breakout game. Is he the one that gets the AAA nod, or is he going to do a repeat in AA?
I think he has to do a repeat, just as his age. Yeah, he's going to play the whole year at 21, like you said, and he had the most struggle. Even when you compare him to Zach Veen, who had his wrist injury and all that going on, Yankiel Fernandez had the most struggle in Hartford. So I think he's like the guy who's penned and sharpied in to AA, and we'll have to look to someone else who I will turn it over to you for. I think that he is the guy to go to AAA. Who is our number 4?
Mr. Swag himself, Jordan Beck. Hit 45, power 55, run 55, arm 60, field 55, and overall 55. Just an absolute insane talent coming out of Tennessee. He loves to play with that chip on his shoulder, loves a little fiery kind of action with it, which rubbed some people the wrong way. It did me when he was playing for Tennessee, but he's honed that in a little bit as a professional. He's understood what it means to play with that approach as a professional. I think his ceiling is manning center field for the Colorado Rockies for 5 years, and then moving to a corner for another 5, and then playing DH for another 5. There's so much talent in this man. It's absolutely insane. The arm being at 60, he can run, he can track anything down out in center field. I don't think he played a lot of that last year. I know he
very little, yeah.
Hartford, 12 games at Hartford in center, 24 in left, and then 35. No, that doesn't make sense. Right, 12 in right field. So a left fielder pretty much 50% of the time last year, but he still has that capability to play center, which you got to love. I think his floor, he's your everyday right fielder that's at a 100 WRC plus. He's still going to be a league average hitter. He just has too many tools, too much talent to not have it work out. Like you said with Rakiel, it's the strikeout rates when he got to AA, adjusting to that higher level, that different kind of talent that is just Hartford, Eastern League stuff. Spokane strikeout rate 21%, Hartford 32%. However, his K rate is still elite at 13%. Like insane. That actually got better too from Spokane. I think there's less holes in Jordan Beck's game than there is Yankiel. So that's why I give him that slight little bit nod. But they are essentially 1A and 1B throughout the rest of their careers.
Absolutely, and just a quick clarification in it. If anyone heard, Jordan Beck, that 13.5% K rate, yeah, I think you all know, but 13.5%, yeah, the walk rate is elite. He is striking out at a high rate. I know we're grinding through this, and we're saying a lot of valid stuff, and just some things are slipping, but Jordan Beck, yeah, he's the man, and I agree. I think you put a good ceiling on him. Just the 5, that tells you all you need to know. And I think there's a good chance that he does become that like league average bat. I think to be a league average hitter is a good thing. And in scouting terms, average gets thrown around a lot, and people think that that's not good. Average is good. There are in Major League Baseball, there are roughly half the players in the league are above average, and half of them are below. To be right in that cusp, right in the middle, that's not bad. So Jordan Beck, good chance that he is an average hitter overall with great tools defensively and on the base paths. And then we all know that there's a chance for a heck of a lot more if he's hitting 30 home runs, drawing his walks. He could be like a 30 home run, 330, 340 on base guy. Chances are that pushes him a little bit above that average mark. So really exciting stuff from him. Not quite as exciting turning over to our number 3, Zach Veen. This is a guy that everyone within the fan base, there's some people who have kind of lost a lot of faith, but there are a lot of people who still kind of believe in this guy as the number one prospect in some ways. For our sake, doing the top 40 list and being a little more official about it, you can't really justify him as the number one. Like there are reasons that there's at least one guy above him. But Zach Veen has just so much talent, and so his rank for us, number 3, the MLB rank is 6, so he's dropped a little bit there. His grades: hit of 50, power 45. We'll get into that. Run 60, arm 60, field 55, overall grade of 50. The floor there, I think, is a big leaguer. He has the speed to be a game wrecker on the base paths. He has the instincts out there to be a game wrecker on the base paths. There's a 45 grade on his hit tool, but last spring he hit a baseball. I think it was 116 miles per hour. At the time, he set the Rockies StatCast record for the hardest hit ball in a game. And it might have been 118, actually, because I know Cargo was hitting some like 1-teens. He set the record for the hardest hit ball, or at least it was the year prior. It wasn't the record because Cargo holds the record, but the year before, the Rockies didn't have a harder hit baseball. His power is huge. It is not 45 grade power. He is being held to this weird standard because he had a wrist injury and could not play. And again, that goes back to my Benny Montgomery point. Context matters, and injuries are like the number one context that you have to put into the equation. The guy was injured for like a year pretty much. He was playing through, at one point, a minor injury, and playing through it turned it into a major one, and he lost his ability to hit for power. And for whatever reason, that's showing up in scouting reports. He does need to kind of prove himself again, but the tools here are just through the roof. He could be a Gold Glover in a corner. He could steal 30 bags. The raw power suggests he could hit 30 home runs. And then he is a mature hitter. The wrist injury, we talked about this with Luke on the podcast whenever many moons ago that was, that the wrist injury could have been kind of a silver lining in a way, because he was not swinging for power because he knew he couldn't. Mm-hmm. So he worked on that approach, and his walk rate this year actually increased from his first go, 11.4%. Strikeout rate dropped all the way to 21.4. I expect those numbers to change a little bit as he's back to being himself, but Zach Veen has everything you want in a baseball player. He is a MLB The Show creative player. Just right now, the difficulty is on Hall of Fame, and he's got to find a way to turn it down.
And I think he's figuring that out. Dude, man's matured a lot. Spring training hit. He's playing baseball like a violinist, in his own words, where you just got to keep practicing, and every day is going to be a little bit different, and you are going to have all the tools, and you're going to make a mistake, but you just got to keep going to the next one. Every little thing builds off of each other, and he even said himself he was putting a lot of pressure on himself to be that dude last year. Like, he wanted to go play baseball with the big dogs, and fighting through that injury was one of those things that 20-year-old Zach Veen made the decision for. So again, kind of going back to the Drew Romo, the Benny Montgomery thing, these guys that are coming straight out of high school, being drafted and being thrown into a professional setting, they have to go through these bumps and bruises just like any other adult does in any other real life job. And Zach Veen kind of had that lesson last year, right? Like, he pushed through an injury, didn't quite have it, and it showed, but he was doing it for a good reason, but it ended up kind of slowing his development down a little bit, so to speak. When he's healthy, like when he is, that he's healthy, he absolutely crushes and dominates. And to your point about that, like, the injuries, I don't think are fair for him to be held against him. And I think that's why I'm so still high on Zach Veen. That's where I think he just is a little bit more well-rounded as opposed to like a Jordan Beck. I don't see his strikeout rate being what Jordan Beck's is. Again, this is like minuscule difference here, but it's just, the talent is just incredible. Again, he's 21 years old, but he turns 22 in December, or he turned 22 in December. So going into his 22-year-old season as a rookie, it's just insane. And even with his wrist injury, like you said, 11.4% walk rate. Like, if we can keep it above a 10% at AA, we're doing enough good things to be elite. And so there's just too much talent, too much raw talent there to take anything away from Zach Veen because he tried to fight through an injury. So I think this is his proven year. I think Dude Man probably starts at AA as well. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's in the Yankee boat where
yeah,
that's a real good benchmark to prove yourself, and he has to do that. And also has not, he hasn't hit. The Rockies have used him kind of weird in the spring training. I feel like they've used him more as a base runner than just like go out there and hit for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's still got to find his groove as a hitter, and they'll take it a little slow with him.
Right. And he got some taste in the Winter League. What do you have? 6 at bats, 9 at bats, 9 games, 23 plate appearances for Ponce in the Puerto Rican Winter League before he came back to stateside. He hit 400 in those at bats. So something's good there. I'm excited for Zach Veen, and just the maturity of having gone through what he did last year, I think it's only going to make him better. Our number 2 player is Chase Dollander. We did not switch anything up. Chase Dollander is our number 2 player, BSB top 10. Fastball 65, curveball 50, slider 60, changeup 55, control 50, overall 55. His ceiling is the number 1 man in a rotation. There's just no doubt about it. And I think his floor is the number 4 or 5. That's where I'm putting him. I'm putting a lot of pressure on this Georgia cat. It's just too much that can, I don't know, just too much. like we were just saying about Veen. There's just too much talent there, too much arm talent. Like, you're getting the guy out of Tennessee that's touching 99 as a starter, can do whatever he wants with the off speed. Like, you want to go 99 with the fastball, I can hit you with an 85 mile per hour slider. If you're not quite ready for that, or if you are ready for that, I can hit you up with this changeup or curveball that's about 10, 15 miles per hour difference. Have yet to see him pitch professionally. Haven't seen him in spring training throw yet. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but take away his 2022 college season, which was a little rough, and go back to his 2021 season. There's something there, and everything. All the experts, all the gurus are saying Dollander has it, whatever it might be. What it might be. I really think Dude Man starts at Spokane, quick up to Hartford, and then he's in Albuquerque, if not the pros, by the end of the year. Probably not the pros, but he'll be in Albuquerque by the end of 2024, fighting for a spot in 2025.
Yeah, and I'll kick it off by saying, had my Sean Sullivan tidbit from the draftee. of all D1 pitchers last season, his average pitch velocity. So this is all his pitch types. We're looking at that overall power, fifth highest in all of D1.
That's insane.
So it just shows there's power with the fastball. He's going to be 95 to 97. I guess more like 94 to 97, averaging 95. The changeup's upper 80s. The slider can be upper 80s. The curveball is like low 80s. You can definitely change speeds, but like you can also gear it up absolutely with anybody. And some of those guys above him were throwing like Paul Skeens is one of them. You could easily guess that, but so much power with his stuff. And want to call some attention to that 2022 college season. He had 108 strikeouts and just 13 walks in 79 innings. One of the best. I would love to get the information on that. One of the best strikeout to walk ratios probably ever, or at least in the last 10 to 20 years.
What league did he do that in?
It was the forget. I don't think it's a very good conference. Oh wait, yeah, the SEC,
just insane.
Where they have just dudes in a barn developing that turn into Jordan Beck. There's a bunch of those dudes out there. So Chase Dollander he's a mean machine. He's going to go out there and grind up hitters. What would be really cool, and I'm not even going to say anything about him, in tomorrow's game. It'd be really cool to see him though. Really, really cool to see.
God, I hope we see him.
But Echo gonna start in Spokane. Should hit Hartford some point in the season. He deserves that experience. And then we're looking at a guy who could compete for maybe that 25 rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not out of the gate, but pretty quickly.
Yeah, big year coming in for Chase next year. I'm excited. I'm so excited about Chase. We haven't had this kind of talent for a pitching prospect in a long time. Like Gabe Hughes is good, right? Like Sean Sullivan is good, but Chase Dollander just brings a whole nother thing to the table that we have not seen in this system in so long. And that gets me so excited.
Basically John Gray with a little bit more depth to the arsenal.
Yeah.
I think easier to turn into a big leaguer. Like John Gray had some real, things to iron out as he became a pro. Chase Dollander, I think, quickly can become that MLB starter.
Absolutely. All right, hit
him.
Can
we get a drum roll? Can we
hit him?
Our number one prospect. This is going to shock you all. Number one, Adael Amador. Our number one prospect. Unanimous number one prospect, unless your name is Keith. His grades, he's got that 60 hit grade. That's rare to see. Power 45, run 50, arm 50, field 55, overall 55. Probably should be a 60, but I'm sitting here right now. Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis are getting paid to create those reports. So, but Amador is a special talent. I think some people that are not big prospect folks are probably like, this guy's nothing special watching him in the spring. But the floor is like a good middle infielder, maybe not quite an everyday, it should be an everyday guy though at almost his lowest. The ceiling is kind of like a Luis Ariz type of player, could hit in the mid 300s at his absolute best. On base percentage would be over 400. I think he can hit 15 to 20 homers. Again, if your name is Keith, you might not agree with me. He's going to steal some bags. I don't think he's going to, steal 20, but he can steal 10 for sure. And that's part of this new Rockies culture is go out there and, take a hike to second base very, very fast when the, pitcher is doing his delivery. He'll get some steals. He's going to play second base. I think he's going to do just fine there. Could play shortstop if there's ever a need for that. Hopefully not really, but he absolutely could handle that. We have not seen a talent like this in a very, very long time. Switch hitter, very good from both sides of the plate, controls the zone. Just seems like he knows what he's doing up there. And I think something that we kind of give hitters too much credit sometimes. In some ways, they don't know what they're doing up there. They just have a ton of talent and are hoping that they get a nice break. Adael Amador seems like he's in control all of the time. This is a rare talent, someone who should be one of the best players on this ball club for a decade to come.
Yeah, 153 walks to 133 strikeouts in his professional career. Just insane. You don't see that ever. And just the bat to ball skills is fantastic. No easy at bat. It's again, we haven't seen anything like him. He's a little bit more athletic than Sterling Thompson. That's kind of his little extra bit there. I see him as a floor like a Brendan Rodgers. Like I'd be stoked if his floor is a B Rod, and then yeah, if we get a Luis Arias and just a guy that's going to give you a professional at bat in the middle, right between like some power, absolutely. And if we could get 10 years of just Tovar and Amador up the middle, that would be so fantastic. Take it back to what we wanted with DJ and Trevor. Like that would have been just absolutely tremendous. I I don't there's just nothing like bad to say about him. The only thing maybe a little bit more in-game power, but like if you're getting 15 home runs out of your second baseman, you're not mad. And if you can add 20 steals to that, you're not mad. If you're able to produce and get on base, like you're doing, every team, every lineup still needs that guy. Like you can't just slug your way through it. Like absolutely it'd be fantastic. And some teams try that, but having a well-balanced lineup 1 through 9 and having a guy that can just make contact and make pitchers pitch, like a walk is 4 pitches. So if a pitcher has to go 8-9 pitches in that bat with him, that's better for everybody. So there's just not a lot that you can be mad about when you look and watch Adel Amador, other than his smile. It's too much. He has too much fun playing the game. I don't know. Like there's just
too many chains. There's the Bat Boys baseball account on Instagram. They ask players all the time, how many chains is too many? Some of them might say Amador wears too many. I think that is in the scouting report his biggest knock. There's a little too much weight around his neck.
That's our scouting report. Too much weight around his neck. If he dropped a little bit, he can get a little bit more lift on the ball or a little bit more speed on the pass. But like Duman still stole 7 bases in the Puerto Rican league this year in 86 at bat. So like he's still able to steal 17 hits. Like it's just too much good things happening. And I think I want to preface this. I don't think I need to, but I like to. He is our number 1 prospect, and he's pretty much the unanimous number 1 prospect of anybody that matters across the board. And that doesn't mean that he's going to be a major leaguer next year. Like he still is. He's going to turn 21. Yep, he's going to turn 21 in like a month. So in April, when the season starts, he's turning 21. Again, all these guys are young, and they still need that time to develop. And just because he's your number 1 prospect doesn't mean he's going to be in the majors this year. There's still that time to develop. But the fact that he's 21 already with Hartford experience is absolutely insane. And the Rockies seem to be pushing these guys. Look at Tovar, look at Doyle. Like these guys are moving up pretty quickly. Took Goodman like 2 years to get up there. So like that's exciting too. Like you have these young guys, this young talent, and the Rockies seem to be pushing up a little bit with this new regimen in the front office. And we're trying to figure out what we have. I would ask for a little bit of things, but again, that's a different pod. But this is exciting. Like I would put these top 10 against anybody. And like what we're going to see tomorrow, that those 26 guys, like that outfield is better than probably 80% of the league's outfield prospects, like as a whole. There's so much talent here.
Yeah, easily. And I've been someone banging the drum on like, show me like more than like 6 or 7 top 10s that are better than the Rockies. I also think the Rockies have depth. They've drafted a ton of pitching. They have a ton of like actual prospects in their minor league rotations. But this top 10, there's a handful that best it. Somehow the Rockies are just not getting that much love. And the spring breakout is a chance to show something. We'll point out, in our final kind of note on that game, Baseball America said that the Rockies' spring breakout roster was the 10th best. Okay. So getting some love from, I would say, the most reputable source.
I like that. I did not know that. I did not have a Baseball America subscription, so that's awesome. So there's just so much, and like have fun with us. Go read our blogs. We release honorable mention Monday, 30 through 40 Tuesday, 20 through 30 Wednesday, 10 through 20 on Thursday, And then today, while you're listening to this Friday, with our top 10, with our write-ups from the whole team, just a different look, different outlook. Just hear it, read it, and then go watch it with us all season. This is our bread and butter. This is what we love to do. We love the prospects. We love the kids, and maybe you'll hear one or two of these guys on a mini banter session or a full banter session, so to speak. It's fun to get to know these guys, and it's fun to watch them develop and go through it. And there's so much more talent that we could have talked about, but we wanted to give you the top 10. You'll hear us talk about everybody else. Like, can we talk about Robert Calaz when he's in Fresno for a full season? Like, he's going to be doing work. What, Endahar, who is it? What, a top 17 cat?
Top
Where is
20
he?
on MLB.
Top 20. Yeah, 20 to space. When was the last time you ever seen a 16-year-old international player on a top 30, let alone for the Rockies? Just insane. So, like, when Andujar could be in the majors if he goes level by level by the time he's 20 years old. It just insane stuff. And, like, you're just loaded with pitching talent in the back end. Like, this is fun. There are good times around. We might lose 100 games at the major league level, but that's not going to last much longer. It's not. There's too much talent coming up. And the Rockies, they don't develop talent. Sure. Let's let this play out. This round just feels different. We haven't had this kind of feeling for a whole system in so long. And I think that's me being done with my soapbox. Like, I'm just stoked, man.
The last thing I would say, just, hop on. MLB Pipeline has the best website to just go look at the past. It's a very accessible system. Go look 5-6 years back. And I'll tell you with a straight face, this is not me being biased. The back of those top 30 lists at the time was not good. Now you look at them, and of course it's pretty terrible. There's a lot of players on those lists that never passed AA. This Rockies top 30 right now, and of course there's so many more even beyond the top 30. We went top 40. There's another 10, 20 guys who are very likely going to make the big leagues at some point. This is a loaded system. This current MLB top 30 list just highlights that there's a lot of pitching talent in the system, something the Rockies haven't had in a long time. It's in good shape. This is a healthy system. We got a draft coming up that's going to help. Just so much to be looking forward to. And this is sort of our, cutting the banner, opening the floodgates on this season and the coverage this season.
Yes, it's going to be great. And so go follow us, go leave us a review, top 10, give us a 5-star, whatever you want to do. Leave us a little comments, comment right now. Just go tell your mom about us, share it with us, with your people. We exclusively cover the minor leagues. Me and Tyler are going to be going weekly on Sundays or Monday nights, giving you a recap of every minor league game, all the series. The dudes, Luke and Mac, are going to be giving a write-up every week on the minors. And then we got Noah and James going to be doing the major league pod in the middle of the week, every week, with some write-ups every once in a while. You got Mike on the graphics in the studio, so to speak, making some fun videos and working on some things. This is going to be a fun year. So right along with us, it's going to be a good time. And with that said, don't do what Tyler said. Don't go to 2018 and look at the top prospects. I did that while he was talking, and it's bleak. It's not very fun. So don't do that. It's not worth it. Just look at 2024 because it is freaking fantastic. And you get all the MILB games on TV with your MLB TV subscription. So make sure you're tuning in. And even if you're not, just follow our Twitter. We are going to be posting and doing everything we possibly can to get the word out for these teams, for these guys, and just have some freaking fun. Go Rocks, minor league affiliates. Woo! Thank you for watching and listening. Please check out our Linktree